For our mid-morning edition of Arirang News, I'm Mark Broom. Let's start by taking a look at the day's headlines. Radio silence from North Korea. Washington's top diplomat says the US hasn't heard from the North about the working level talks it proposed for late September. Mike Pompeo says the Trump administration can wait until Pyongyang is ready. A crunch meeting at a crunch time. The foreign ministers of South Korea and Japan hold talks on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. Could there be a glint of light at the end of the tunnel after months of intense bickering over trade and history? Plus, more high drama in Washington. A whistleblower claims the White House sought to lock down records of a phone call in which President Trump urged the new president of Ukraine to investigate Democratic frontrunner Joe Biden and his son. Our top story this morning, though, more stop-start diplomacy with North Korea. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has admitted working-level negotiations with North Korea on the regime's denuclearization that had been expected to take place this month have yet to be arranged. Lee Seung-jae starts us off.
Speaking at a press conference on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly on Thursday, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said tentatively scheduled working-level denuclearization negotiations with North Korea are still in the air. However, Pompeo reaffirmed that the U.S. is ready to resume talks with the North whenever the regime feels ready. Earlier this month, Pyongyang proposed the two sides resume working-level talks in late September to continue negotiations on dismantling the North's nuclear weapons program in exchange for economic and political concessions from Washington. Conditions for the resumption of talks seem to have brightened in recent weeks, as President Trump fired his hawkish former National Security Advisor John Bolton, blaming Bolton's attitude for the breakdown of the nuclear talks. Pompeo said he hopes the phone rings and the two sides get a chance to find a place and a time that works for the North Koreans, indicating again that Pyongyang has not followed up on its initial proposal. He added further talks would be good for both sides, as well as South Korea, China, Japan, and the rest of the world. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Now, as a follow-up to that report, North Korea's top diplomat says the United States has done nothing to implement any of the deals it made with the North, and the prospect for further summits remains rather dim at the moment. Pyongyang's state-run Korean Central News Agency reported Friday that its foreign minister, Kim Kye-gwan, made the remarks. However, he also went on to note that President Trump is different from his predecessors in the White House, and he hopes Trump takes the wise option and makes a bold decision. Now, the hectic week in New York is slowly starting to wind down. President Moon Jae-in, he opted against criticizing Japan on the international stage at the UN General Assembly, despite Tokyo's unprecedented trade curbs on South Korea. However, the same could not be said for Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. He was more than willing to use his trip to the UN to bash Seoul and blame the South Korean government for the souring relations between the two countries. Lee Ji-won reports.
Japan's efforts to blame South Korea for their current disputes continued even at the UN General Assembly in New York. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe took every opportunity to criticize Seoul for their frosty ties, including at a press conference he held on Wednesday. When an Italian reporter asked Abe on the worsening Seoul-Tokyo ties, the Japanese PM went on for nearly 3 minutes to explain Tokyo's stance on almost every single point of contention.
South Korea isn't making any moves on its violation of the 1965 Seoul-Tokyo Agreement, and is continuing to take actions that harm the trust between the two sides.
Abe reiterated that the forced labor ruling, where Seoul Supreme Court ordered Japanese firms to compensate Koreans forced to work for them during Japan's colonial rule, has nothing to do with its trade curbs on Seoul. He then explained how its trade restrictions perfectly follow the orders of free trade and the World Trade Organization, adding that when safety and security are proven, exports are given the green light, and that such measures do not affect trade with other countries. Japan imposed trade restrictions on Korea in July and August, initially citing broken down trust between the two sides, but later changing the explanation to unspecified security reasons. The Japanese Prime Minister also used the UN stage to express regret over Seoul's decision to end its military information sharing pact with Japan, saying that their worsening ties should not affect security interests. Abe is also reported to have reiterated these stances at his bilateral summit with U.S. President Trump. Now, while Abe was trying to rally world opinion against Seoul, the top diplomats of both sides met on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly on Thursday. It was the first time for Foreign Minister Ganghwa to meet her newly appointed counterpart Toshimitsu Motegi. The two met for around 50 minutes, 20 minutes longer than initially scheduled. And it's also reported that 40 minutes of the talks happened between just the translators and the ministers at the request of Japan. While no real progress was made on the major issues, Minister Kang told reporters that both sides agreed that close cooperation is needed on issues like North Korea's denuclearization, and that the two sides should continue such open-minded talks and work towards the future. 이지원, Arirang News.
The whistleblower complaint that prompted Democrats to launch an impeachment inquiry of US President Donald Trump went public on Thursday local time. President Trump wasted no time at all firing back against the claims made in the report, calling it nothing more than a Democratic scam. Yoon Jung-min reports.
The whistleblower report accuses President Trump of abusing his power to solicit a foreign power in the 2020 U.S. election against his main Democratic rival Joe Biden, and claims his administration tried to lock down the evidence. The report, which was made public by the House of Intelligence Committee, said Trump acted in his personal political interests, risking national security in the process. The whistleblower expressed deep concerns that the actions described in the complaint constitute a serious flagrant problem, abuse, or violation of law or executive order. It also insisted White House officials attempted to lock down the records, saying President Trump's transcript of his phone call with the new president of Ukraine was loaded into a separate electronic system used to store classified information despite the fact that it did not contain anything sensitive to national security. Trump is facing an official impeachment inquiry led by the Democrats for allegedly pressuring Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate former Vice President Joe Biden, deemed his main contender for the 2020 presidential election, over corruption allegations facing Biden and his son Hunter. The report prompted a fierce reaction from President Trump, who insists the impeachment move is a Democratic scam and another witch hunt.
It's a disgrace to our country. It's another witch hunt. Here we go again. It's Adam Schiff and his crew making up stories and sitting there like pious, whatever you want to call them. It's just really a disgrace. It's a terrible thing for our country.
President Trump slammed House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and other leading Democrats, publicly expressing his will to fight back to block the impeachment inquiry. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea is ramping up its disinfection efforts against African swine fever as the country confirmed its 9th confirmed case of the animal disease earlier today. The latest case at a pig farm in Ganghwa County, west of Seoul, came back positive early Friday morning. 5 out of all 9 confirmed cases originate in that particular area. 2 suspected cases in Yangju, a city close to Seoul, and 1 suspected case in Yeoncheon turned out negative. All the confirmed cases of African swine fever have been detected in regions relatively close to North Korea, such as the northern areas of Gyeonggi-do Province and Incheon. The highly contagious disease is harmless to humans but fatal to pigs. Authorities are currently working to find out how the disease entered South Korea. Gangnam in southern Seoul has been one of the South Korean capital's hottest attractions for many years, and it really comes alive at night. To further boost the international image of the district made world famous by singer Psy, an annual cultural festival is being held over the next several days. Our Ji-young went to check out the opening ceremony and filed this report.
The 2019 Gangnam Festival officially kicked off on Thursday. The crowd at the opening ceremony numbered more than 2,000, and they were treated to entertainment by K-pop bands, singers, choirs, and even a fireworks show.
I saw very nice performances, and the topic is Gangnam Festival, and it's about the history of Gangnam, about the lifestyle of Gangnam. So they did a performance depicting how dynamic the life is in Gangnam.
The festival runs through October 6th with various programs for visitors to enjoy. This year's Gangnam Festival includes a range of concerts from K-pop to classical music, as well as street parades, fashion shows, and other activities taking place across Gangnam-gu district. The head of the Gangnam-gu district office said they'll show the world the excellence of Gangnam through the festival and use it as a springboard to attract 10 million visitors to the district.
The concept is the whole district being the stage. We are offering visitors 35 different programs. The festival is big and we'll see around 2,500 people take to the stage. It's also an interactive festival where people from the district come and perform together.
The festival's director said things that Gangnam should be proud of, such as beauty and information technology, will be displayed at various exhibitions, including G-Culture Festa.
The theme is Sensation Gangnam, which means this year's festival also portrays things you may not have known about the district. For instance, during last year's event, the fashion show was held by a famous designer, but this year it will be held by amateur designers building their careers in Gangnam.
The festival also features a series of cultural showcases like musicals and operas, where the visitors can appreciate more highbrow art. Ji-young, Arirang News.
World news time now, and Iran is once again breaching the restrictions of its 2015 nuclear deal with major world powers. This seems to be in response to the crushing US sanctions imposed on Tehran ever since President Trump withdrew Washington from that said agreement in May of last year. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Kim Dami. So Dami, tell us more about this latest violation.
Mark, Iran has committed yet another breach, this time by enriching uranium with advanced centrifuges. This is according to a report by the International Atomic Energy Agency on Thursday. On September 25th, 2 days ago, the agency verified that all of these centrifuge cascades already installed in R&D lines 2 and 3 were accumulating or had been prepared to pile up enriched uranium. The lines comprise small cascades of up to 20 centrifuges. Based on the report, Iran is still installing 2 previously announced 164 machine cascades of the IR-4 and IR-2M models. These are the 2 cascades that were removed under the deal and that led to the world power lifting international sanctions against Iran. The nuclear deal permits Iran to accumulate enriched uranium with just over 5,000 of its first-generation IR-1 centrifuges. Iran is also allowed to use small numbers of more advanced models for research without producing enriched uranium. In a letter to the agency on September 25th, Iran said that it's only reconfiguring its enrichment setup to add clusters of centrifuges. France is bidding farewell to the late Jacques Chirac, a much-beloved French politician. In a nationally televised speech on Thursday, French President Emmanuel Macron paid his respects to Chirac, describing him a great Frenchman. The usually luminous Eiffel Tower turned dark, commemorating Chirac, a prominent figure in French politics for 5 decades. France will hold a national day of mourning on Monday. Chirac died at the age of 86 on Thursday after serving the country as the French leader, prime minister, and mayor of Paris. McDonald's will no longer just be a place for meat lovers, as it's introducing its very own plant-based burger. Working in collaboration with plant-based meat producer Beyond Meat, the so-called PLT, plant, lettuce, and tomato burger will be available for around $5 in 28 McDonald's locations in Canada. The 12-week test run will begin next Monday, and McDonald's said it's testing the PLT because of its customers' growing interest in plant-based alternatives. With the introduction of the new burger, Beyond Meat's stock rocketed 12% on Thursday.
Time now for our Life and Info segment, where we focus on information useful for your everyday life. Today, especially if you're watching us in South Korea. The Seoul city government is offering free guided tours around the old streets and neighborhoods along the stone wall that once protected the capital city from outside invaders. With the temperatures steadily dropping as we head further and further into autumn, it really is a great way to spend a cool evening with family or friends, all while giving your legs a nice stretch and finding out more about Seoul's past. Won Jung-hwan has this report.
Some 30 people wait patiently for the start of a free guided tour of the Seoul's ancient wall, also known as Hanyang Dosong. With specially chosen heritage experts, the tour takes participants under the autumn moonlight, down old roads, and through villages along the stone wall, which was built back in the Joseon dynasty.
The wall could be a bit steep, but those on the tour will be able to learn the history of the massive stone wall that once encircled the capital city.
As visitors walk along the wall, they get a chance to listen to how the wall, with an average height of 7 meters, protected Seoul from 1396 to 1910. While some parts of the fortifications were destroyed during Japan's colonial rule and the Korean War, visitors can still feel the wall's grandness. Following the ridges of Bugaksan, Naksan, Namsan, and Inangsan, the 4 main mountains surrounding the center of Seoul, the trails from the Joseon-era provide a different view of the city.
I really enjoyed hearing stories from residents living near Hanyang Dosong. The tour program wasn't only about the history of the wall, but it also told us how the people in the area are now living together with the ancient wall.
I've been here a couple of times, but since I live in Incheon, it was always hard for me to come during the night. But through such an organized tour program, I was able to not only trek at night, but also learn about the history.
There are 2 more free tours offered by Seoul this year, taking place in the evenings of October 15th and 17th. Only 35 adults can take each tour, and spots are allocated on a first-come, first-served basis. You can apply via the city's reservation website from 10 a.m. on October 7th. 원정환, 아리랑 뉴스.
Seoul is hosting its annual Welcome Week for foreign tourists. Starting Friday, the capital is offering discounts from around 190 partner companies that include dining, shopping, accommodation, exhibitions, performances, and reservation services. Sounds like pretty much everything. To find out more, foreign tourists should visit seoulwelcomeweek.com. You can see it on the screen now. You can also download a hard copy of what's called Seoul Welcome Week online card to get discounts both online and at offline brick and mortar stores. The event runs through next Sunday. Now we're going to discuss a new trend in K-beauty, which is called home aesthetics. I'm happy to say we have our reporter Hong Yu in the studio to tell us more. So South Korea's cosmetic products and skincare regimes have become really popular around the world and really cemented the name K-beauty as something people instantly recognize as Korean cosmetics. But tell us more about home aesthetics. What's this all about?
Well, Mark, to begin with, when people think about skin and body care, they used to think about going to skin dermatologists or to beauty salons. But these days, people have turned to devices that they can use wherever and whenever they please. And one of such devices that is trending in South Korea right now is the LED face mask.
Okay, so we're just looking at that there. I am familiar with those disposable face masks you can get pretty much everywhere that cost $1 or $2 that are kind of coated in oils or moisturizer and whatnot. There are also clay masks, of course, as well. But I must say this is the first time I've heard of an LED face mask. Is that you trying it on there, right, making yourself look even more nice? But so this is a face mask with LED lights built into it, it looks like.
That's right. There are electric devices that have LED light bulbs in the interior of the mask that is thick as a helmet. And what is special about this mask is that these LED light bulbs are like those used in dermatology clinics. So there are people who prefer to buy the LED facial mask and use them repetitively instead of going to the dermatology clinic where they would have to pay much more for a one-time only treatment.
The wavelengths produced from these LED lights were specifically calculated to affect skin cells in the most effective way. And to make it more convenient to use at home, wireless charging functions, touchpads, and a mobile control system have been developed.
Okay, sounds interesting. He's really selling the idea to me. I hear they're quite expensive, though, to buy if you go to the shop. How much do they cost?
They can cost from around $1,500 up to $2,000.
But you can use over and over again.
Yeah, you get to keep it.
Right, that's good. And I'm sure there's some science behind it, how it makes your face look younger. What other care devices do you have to share with us today then?
There are so many, ranging from dead skin cell removing devices to body massage devices. And dead cell peeling is also one of the treatments that you can get in dermatology clinics. But this device uses low stimulus ultrasonic waves and negative ions for the same purpose of removing dead cells. There are also small facial massage devices that use mini LED lights, vibration, and negative ions to shrink a swollen face and to revitalize scalps and hair. Let's take a listen about who is buying all these products.
Our main customers are from ages 20 to 40. Young people prefer light items, and highly priced items are purchased mostly by older people.
Like he said, the home care market is continuously developing as there are more people wanting this kind of devices that they can easily use at home. They're turning to immediate treatments that they can usually have it done at home.
Yeah, so rather than spending a bunch of money at these skincare treatment clinics, of which there are many, especially here in Seoul and in the Gangnam area we are, they can just do it at home. So I suppose watching this, the question on most people's lips is just how big is this home care device market in South Korea now?
The market is worth more than $400 million, but it is expected to grow to more than $800 million. And these devices are not that cheap, as like this body massage that you can see on the screen, for example, can cost up to $7,000.
I love those.
Because of the high price, customers can rent the chairs for a monthly fee instead.
Yeah.
These massage chairs are popular among South Koreans because the chair wraps around the entire body, so it can move around and massage your muscles.
Great. And you can find them in certain places across the city as well, where you put a couple of dollars in and you get like 5-10 minutes
that's right.
instead of spending several $1,000s. It was a pleasure, as always, Hong Yu. I know now how I can make myself look a little bit more youthful, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Good morning. It's a cool start to the day in most parts, but highs will hover way above the seasonal norms for most parts of the country. And it's forecast to be cloudy across the nation, while Jeju and certain parts of the country should prepare for a wet Friday. In fact, rain over the southern regions will continue into the weekend, while central regions will be under mostly sunny skies. But warmer than average temperatures will continue for next few days. And fall colors are coming to Mount Seorak this weekend, and the rest of the country will also soon start to see the color changes, with leaves taking about 2 weeks to reach their peak autumn colors. But due to warmer than average temperatures this autumn so far, this fall foliage season comes about 4 days later than the average year. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's where we're going to leave the news and weather for now on this Friday morning here in Seoul. Our next newscast is at noon Korea time, so until then, goodbye.